Hey y'all, welcome back to a new What's for Dinner video. This week I'm going to be sharing 5 super easy weeknight dinners with y'all. These are dinners that I cooked for my family this past week and they were all enjoyed by them, so I hope you all enjoy them too. Up first, we're going to make some lima beans in the crock pot. We're going to bake some barbecue chicken legs, and then we're just going to do an easy pasta side. So for the lima beans, we're going to add our ham bone. It's a leftover ham bone that I had from a previous ham that I cooked. I did cover my ham bone with water, and then I went in with a Goya ham packet as well as 2 chicken bouillon cubes. And then I dumped my whole lima bean packet into the water with the ham bone, and then I seasoned it with salt, but that's optional. And then I'm going to put the lid on it, and I'm going to cook it on low for about 8 hours, and here it was after the 8 hours. And then for the barbecue chicken, I just have some chicken legs and I'm going to season them up really well. I'm going to show you all the seasonings I'm using, but of course you can use whatever seasonings that you prefer. Once I had all of the chicken covered with the seasonings that I wanted, I'm going to wrap it up in aluminum foil. I'm going to bake that in the oven on 350 for about 25 minutes. I took it out about halfway through and covered it in barbecue sauce and then put it back in there for a little while longer. And here was our plate once everything was done and plated up. For the next dinner, we're going to be making some chili. We are moving into the fall season and I am so excited. Fall season is my favorite time of the year. For my chili, I'm just browning up some ground beef. I'm going to add in some minced garlic as well as some onion powder and garlic powder. Once my ground beef was done browning, I added in a packet of this Chili-O chili seasoning. It is my favorite seasoning for chili. And then I went in with some mixed chili beans and then a can of chili crushed tomatoes. And then I went in with another can of mixed chili beans. This is the Bush's brand. The other one was the Walmart brand, but they're both just as good. And then I went in with a small can of tomato sauce. Then I like to go in with a big can of the Van Camp's pork and beans, and then I'll go in with a big can of diced tomatoes. And then I'll stir that up really well. And then on this night I did go in with a can of water, but you can also use chicken broth. It's really well that way. And then I just salted it up a little bit better and added some pepper. And then here it was once it was all done, and I'll just let it simmer for a little while. And once I have my chili plated, I like to top it with some cheese and some saltine crackers. For the next dinner, I made a traditional crock pot roast and a broccoli casserole as the side. So in my crock pot, I'm just adding my roast in there, and then I'm going to cover it with a Lipton onion soup packet as well as a ranch packet. I also went in with this McCormick slow cooker pot roast seasoning packet. It just adds a little flavor to it. And then I covered all my meat and my seasonings with water, and I did go in with about 2 or 3 cups of water. Then I just kind of give that a stir to make sure all those seasonings are broke up and mixed well. And then I'm going to go in with a little bit of this brown gravy. And y'all, I don't measure it. I just kind of pour it in there until I think that it's enough. Stir that around a little bit, and then I'm going to go in with 2 beef bouillon cubes. I'm going to put the lid on my crock pot. I'm going to cook that on high for about 6 to 7 hours. And then once it's getting closer to time for supper, I'm going to shred up this roast in the crock pot. And I do like to boil my carrots and my potatoes separately, so that way I can make sure they get good and soft whenever I'm ready to plate up my food. So in this pot, I'm adding some carrots and potatoes, and I did just peel and dice up some russet potatoes, about 5 of them. Anyway, I covered the carrots and the potatoes with water, and I'm going to let those boil. And then a separate pot, I'm going to make some instant white rice to serve the roast over. So once my carrots and my potatoes were done, I just added them into the crock pot. I'm going to let them kind of simmer in there while I make my broccoli casserole. So for my broccoli casserole, as y'all could tell, I just boiled up some frozen broccoli and then I strained the water off of it. I'm going to add it into my baking dish, and I'm going to cover it with 1 can of cream of mushroom, 1 can cream of chicken, and I'm going to sprinkle in some of this shredded cheese. I'm going to mix that up really well, and then once I do have it mixed up, I'm going to top with some more of that cheese, and then we're going to coat with some Ritz crackers. I do use about 2 sleeves of the Ritz crackers, and I just kind of break them up really well, and then I'm going to cover the whole top with the Ritz crackers. Once I had the top covered with the Ritz crackers, I did add some cubes of butter on top, and then I'm going to wrap it in aluminum foil. I baked it on 350 for about 20 minutes, just until that cheese was melted. I added some butter to my rice, and then here it was once it was all plated up. So we had a lot of chili left over from the other night, so I'm just going to use up some of that. We're going to make some chili cheese dogs and home fries. So for my home fries, I'm just going to peel about 5 to 6 of these russet potatoes and dice them up into the fry shapes. And then we're going to fry them in some grease on the stove. Once they're golden brown, we're going to remove them from the pan and let the grease soak into the napkins. I'm just going to dip out some of this chili and place it into a smaller bowl so that I can put it in the microwave. I'm going to microwave some of it up. My hot dogs, I'm going to cook them in the air fryer, and I just put them on the bacon rack and I cooked them for about 10 minutes in there. And here it was once it was all plated up. I did top my chili dog with some shredded cheese. Alright, so for the final dinner that I'm going to be sharing this week, we're going to make some baked cheesy tortellini, and this is one of the most easiest dinners that you probably could ever make. So all I did was brown up about 1 pound of ground beef. I added in some garlic powder and some onion powder and 2 jars of the Classico spaghetti sauce. I'm going to stir that up and let that simmer on low while I'm cooking my tortellini by the package directions. You just boil it in some water. I drain the water off, and then I'm going to dump that into the pot with my sauce. I'm going to stir that up really well, and then I'm going to top with some mozzarella cheese. I'm going to put that in the oven for about 10-15 minutes, just long enough to melt that cheese. And then once it's done, I like to sprinkle on some Italian seasoning. But that's all that you have to do for this meal, y'all. I hope you enjoyed this week's What's for Dinner. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe or hit that like button, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye, y'all.